I need to know a little bit more of the backstory. Like, just rewind the tapes here a little bit for me. It would help if I could hear a little bit of the evolution of QSIC. You guys started as kind of like a
Home automation.
home automation. I was gonna go back to eBeats, right? Was that the
Yeah, well, it was home automation first that then grew into a commercial focus. And then we were like, okay, so music and automated infrastructure is our thing. Because we were focused more on experience than anything else. That was really where we started. And that original product was called eBeats.
so then how did you get to, hey, we're gonna build an in-store monetizable music platform?
Well, that is an evolution, but it was probably just more being curious, really. Like, his starting with music and infrastructure and having an automation background, that led us to like focus on the environment. Why are people here? What do they want? How do we design these experiences that we can automate it, and then we can get into big networks that we scale? And that's what we do really well, right? So once we sort of got into that and you start thinking about, well, why are we playing the music that we're playing? And then you're like, well, what do these people really want to hear? And like, what does the retailer actually want? Well, they want to drive revenue. So we're like, okay, so how do we give people what they want and then actually give the retailer what he needs? And then we started looking at, well, can music drive revenue? And then that was a really abstract, difficult problem to solve. And then we started signing customers like 7-Eleven. And we were like, well, can we play messaging that drives product like over the counter? And that really sent us on our journey from there. But that was sort of the initial evolution of, music, infrastructure, automation, experience, then driving revenue.
So that was all in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then came over to the US. And just get me up to speed. Tell me a little bit about your US journey.
Yeah. Well, we've been in the US for like 4 years now. So not particularly new here.
Established.
But it's a hard market to crack, right? It's a big market. We're not from here. We don't know people here. We do now. We've tapped into networks like yourself and Sean and Steve and amazing media people that we have now as well. But it was really just, we knew, although that we're already a very big company in Australia, and we like the ambitions of what we have for this business, we need to go where our product has the biggest impact, and that needs the biggest networks in the world, and those are only in America. And so we were like, let's go see what we can do. We had 7-Eleven in Australia, we have McDonald's in Australia, and we started asking our existing international brands about, can you introduce us to your counterparts, like either globally or like just in the US? And we did, and that's how we started initially getting our meetings. We'd actually signed customers over here before we even had an operating company here, and we were flying back and forward from Australia. I look back on it now, and I'm like, I don't know exactly how we did that. But early employees like Lockie Gow, he was like number one on the ground here. Lockie, who now runs Europe, which is, he's been with us a very long time. So it was like really Lockie, myself, and Nick that just, on the ground.
What are some of like the surprises that you didn't anticipate, like coming to the US, like coming to this market? Like maybe it's disguised as a challenge, maybe it's disguised as, wow, this was actually easier than we thought. Like just something like, we didn't see this coming.
Yeah, so many. Like, even though we're culturally pretty similar, Americans and Australians, there's a lot that we do very differently. Even just communication style. Like, I think Australians can be quite flowery with their language, where Americans can be just down the barrel.
You gild the lily?
Gild the lily, yeah. Australians do, that's right. But you got to get used to that, because like Americans, they don't mean anything by it. They're just like time conscious, quick, get it done, let's go. And then they'll just bullet you with information. That was just a ways of working sort of differences. I think from a business perspective, like a lot of the retailers that we support internationally are all sort of grappling with the same problems, particularly now in the retail media space. Although markets are sort of mature in different areas, like we were talking about before, like Europe is really mature, like in store, and it's sort of growing on-site, off-site. America sort of went the opposite way, offsite, onsite. Now in-store is like the hot space to be. Australia has sort of followed the same tact as America, but it's a little bit sort of lagging, maybe 12 to 18 months behind where it's at here.
That's insightful. I just want to kind of stay on this kind of like, you know, founders mentality coming to the U.S., starting a very successful company. Like, what beyond those two things, and beyond hiring such a great staff, like what are the things that you're proud of? Like, wow, this was something. When I go back home to Australia, this is something, you know, I tell my loved ones.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to pinch yourself. You know, the company's like just over 100 people now. You know, we're opened offices in Europe. We've got Mexico as well, Australia, US. Like, these are very humble beginnings. Like, this was started off with Nick and I in a van, just like installing home automation. That was it. In the first like 2-3 years of the business, it was just the two of us. And sometimes you do have to pinch yourself about how far we've come without being like overly ambitious people, but I think we're incredibly curious and we're actually willing to have a go. And when we see like a good idea and we're like, hey, we could do that better than that's being done, or no one's actually doing this. Hey, you know what? We could just build that. How about we do that? And I think opportunity definitely comes to everyone, just not a lot of people will grab it. And I think we're just very willing to grab.
That's awesome. So from a van in the States, we say down by a river, to like, where does QSIC go from here? Like, talk to me a little bit about you are. I've had the chance to work with you now. It feels like a year, in a good way. You're a visionary. Like, you can see the landscape, you can see the horizon. Like, just take me a little bit on a journey. Like, where's this going to go?
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, I guess, where the market's going. You know, and I think the market is wanting campaigns that are sort of like cross tactic, full funnel. There might be reach, there could be conversion in there. I don't think that the market's going to always want to drill into every single tactic. What was the measurement on this, every little bit? I think it'll become more consolidated, and you know, campaigns will get set at a more macro level with all the tactics that are coming into it. And then all the measurement from those components will roll up into it, and then provide like, how did this actually go? What performed well? What are we tweaking? How are we adjusting and evolving? And I think if you think that's where it's going, like, then you start thinking about how does your product sort of play in that space. I think from QSIC's point of view, like, we want to be the audio layer that goes right the way through this industry, the default choice for audio. And we're doing the same game plan that we've done for like the last decade, recognizing problems in the niche that we're in, automating those solutions, like building in like native measurement, and really, really sophisticated targeting capabilities. So then when you think about that workflow, and then everything's now becoming agentic, you know, so moving in that direction, you know, what sort of, you know, we're going to need like MCP servers to be talking. You know, APIs will sort of evolve because it'll now be about context. You'll ask us a question, but we'll need the context to give you the answer. It won't be just deliver this endpoint back to me. And I think from the technology that we have and the sophistication that we have around targeting and measurement in a physical environment, like, I think that that's something that as we plumb ourselves into the ecosystem, having a grassroots foundational focus on how we can target in store in a physical environment with first party data and being able to measure that, that's an incredibly powerful thing that we can build up and into the ecosystem that a lot of other companies can leverage. So I think being at scale helps. But yeah, that's really the way that we're thinking about it.
I love that. I just want to double click on something you said, was I thought really, really powerful. Like, in the future, it's not going to be about just one spot tactic or one smaller piece. It's going to be about how they all contribute to the bigger opportunity of driving sales, reaching the shopper at the right moment, and how powerful radio can be for that. Like, less episodic and more long-term relationship with the brand. I think that that's where QSIC is going to help, because we take the largest portion of the shopping journey. Like this is where all the shoppers are in store.
Well, 80-90% of all the transactions are still happening in store. Post pandemic, like everything's sort of back to largely where it was. You know, we're still meeting retailers that are like 99% of our transactions are in store. So what do? Their on site's going to be really difficult. Off site, you know, is going to be a push too. So the one thing that they've got, like in a retail media space, they're not going to be able to out Amazon, but they can be the best that their brand can be, which is their store. Like how are they leveraging their store and what tactics are they employing? Because the audience is there. These are massive audiences. But like how are they going to capture that value? And they need tactics like us.
You also mentioned agentic. When you think about agents that are potentially going to be our shopping partners, we used to have an expression at Triad. It says bots don't shop. Well, apparently in the future they will, and they'll shop for us. And that could have such a drastic impact on some of the retailers that only have a .com solution and don't have a holistic view of the shopper and those points of interruptions while they're in the store. Audible, can't ignore it. You hear it, and there's going to be a response. I just feel like QSIC is so far ahead and using amazing AI tools. It makes me think about how important creative is. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, which I love, Lucy, which fits so nicely. She's an amazing product. Maybe talk a little bit about Lucy and the AI tools.
So Lucy, like we have a suite of AI tools. One, like the one you're talking about, Lucy, is around creative. So what Lucy can actually do is like look at data sets. You can build a campaign around a particular product. Lucy can look at all the variation on price for that product, given the locations you've selected. And there could be 3, 4, 5, it could be hundreds. And then what Lucy will do is like build out the scripts that we know have performed. She'll look at, is this a complex message? Does it need to be simplified? Is this promotion really good? Like, so she'll start doing all this analysis around why this campaign should work based on like all the campaigns that we've run before, and also predicting like the kind of product that it is, you know, the velocity of the product, the price points, all these types of things. And then she can build all the variations of those scripts, put a backing track to it, and then like, you know, the rest of the platform will just push it out to the network. So that's incredibly powerful, particularly when it's learning what's resonating with particular brands. You know, so you know, if you've got like an energy drink, it's looking at what is this brand like all about. You know, what's the brand tone? What's its personality? What have I done before that worked really well? Was I cheeky? Was it fun? You know, was it edgy? You know, what was this message that got this to click and work? You know, because we've played over like 5 billion ads now, like a lot of ads to a lot of different networks.
5 billion.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that comes with a whole bunch of learning, and that's like what's just feeding our, you know, the creative side of our business. But I think the thing that's really interesting with that, and I think the brands will start to tap into, is that evolution into the ecosystem. We're going to have this really rich view of how brands interact with the in-store customers, and what resonates with them, how to position their brand. And that's sort of like really interesting insight when you're talking about like what's actually converted, like actual like in-store sales conversion, not like audience conversion like online. And that's sort of that kind of knowledge, we could feed that up into a lot of different things, and brands could use it like virtually anywhere.
You create like a beautiful flywheel, right? More data back, you can understand more what's happening inside the store. You take that, make your creative better, refine it, optimize against the POS data, and just rinse and repeat for brands.
But the other trick of that, like what Lucy does do, is amazing. But that creates like huge complexity when you just need to push things out to the network. Because if you've got one campaign with 500 different price points in a network that's over 10,000 stores, And then it's trying to deliver certain ads at certain times in some stores, but not others, because at QSIC, every single store develops its own schedule for what ads it's playing in any given hour. So at any one time, there's hundreds of thousands of campaigns or of schedules that the stores are just computing themselves. So if you can produce all that content, and then you need a very complex way of actually delivering it to the networks. So this is why, like, one problem that we solve leads us to the next problem. Because like as soon as we developed Lucy, we broke our scheduling tool. And then we were like, okay, we need to actually rethink how this is working. We rebuilt that, and that lends us to, hey, measurement is now way more complex for all these various reasons. Hey, we need to reinvent that. And so you just follow the bouncing ball. And this is what I mean about being curious. If you're curious enough, you can just continue to see where the evolution of things are going. It's just, just keep your eyes open.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm stuck on you saying that you can run an ad, and if I think I heard it right, it optimizes itself across multiple stores. The platform knows whether that item is sold in that store because you've ingested the product catalog and know the assortment in each of the stores. And then you can optimize against that and literally know what stores to back out of in your ads and what stores to press down on.
Correct. It's about ad optimization, right? Like we don't want to be doing this, even distribution of ad play like all across the
like
week.
Peanut butter.
Correct. You don't want to peanut butter spread it because you're going to be playing ads when there's really low intent to buy that product. And if you're like a CPG, like where do you want your ads going? You want them played at the highest intent moments. And that's what we built, this prediction algorithm that actually can work all these things out and builds the schedules. Yeah. But that's the only way to do it.
Bold question, but I think it's an important one. Like, are you the only ones doing this in the space?
As far as we know, yeah. But like this has been the game plan for 7 years. We've been running this problem, so it's not, even though the evolution of AI and it's like, yeah, it's everywhere and everything, and but we've been building this for like 7 years. Like what we do today, it's incredibly difficult, particularly to do it at scale. Like we're at sort of over 20,000 stores now, globally, and doing anything at that, just playing music at that kind of scale is difficult. Let alone like automating it. And we've got all our own automation tools like Ava. Ava adjusts in-store volume based on the internal how loud it is in that environment, because audio ads have no impact if you can't hear them. So that was another problem that we had to solve. That automation layer is very, very different between our business and everyone else's, because we have a very heavy focus on that, because we can conclusively know that we played this ad in this space because we're recording the volume, we're adjusting the volume, and it's been put there deliberately for very specific reasons, all which we record.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all your success. If we were to revisit and have this podcast again in 2030, what would we be talking about?
What would we be talking about? I think that things are dramatically going to change. I think the retail media industry as it exists today will look dramatically different, but so will our customers. The marketing departments and media teams that exist today, you're just not going to need the scale of people to do the things. No one's going to be doing the things anymore. What you'll be doing is guiding and asking the questions. It'll be far more of a conversational direction of what's actually happening. And information will be very, very easily surfaced if you can ask the right questions. And it'll be visualized like just on the fly, which means that, people like us won't have to put as much time into building like front end interfaces and just all this sort of stuff, because you'll just talk to it and it'll build the visualizations on the fly depending on the questions that you asked. But that won't need anywhere near like the amount of people or resource to run it as it does today, particularly as we start plumbing into, we're only just starting our programmatic journey at QSIC. But as we build up, and you can ask, what packages should I be running this on this next P period? It'll design it, tell you what you should be doing, package it, put it up into like wider programs, cross tactics, and they'd be like, great, go and offer that to the retailer. So already done, we've negotiated with their agent on their side, price negotiated, it's within range. Like, do you accept? Like, yes. And like, off it'll go. Like, it'll be fairly frictionless, you know. But that's where companies like us are actually driving it towards, right? Because that's what our customers want. Like, think about some of our biggest customers. What is the things that they're constantly wanting is like faster access to information. And the fastest way is like, well, don't ask us the question, ask the QSIC agent the question. And then we can surface whatever you want as fast as you need it. You know, and that's definitely where it's headed.
Well, the future's coming for sure. It's going to be here soon. And I hope in 2030 we can come back and have this same meeting and talk about what you just talked about and see if it holds true. I think you're spot on. Spot on.
Or we're completely wrong.
All right, I'm getting a signal from the producer that we've got to wrap it up. That was awesome.